Hi everybody. This video was requested by subscriber Daniel Mock, and he asked me to make a video on how to taper a man's suit jacket sleeve. And this is what I'm going to call the easy peasy method. So let's get started. Hi everybody. In this video I am going to show you how to take up the fullness or slim down a jacket sleeve. There are two basic types of sleeve hems, and the first one is a regular functioning vent, which means there's going to be buttonholes that open, and there's buttons that you can unbutton on the hems of the jackets. This one is a non-functioning, which means there are buttonholes here, but they're not opened, and the buttons are just sewn on and you cannot unbutton it. It's kind of tacked together with the buttons. This is the easier of the two alterations that I'll be showing you in different videos. The reason why is because I'm going to show you how to take up this fullness without messing with this down here. So if the hem is good for you, it's not too wide, then you'll only need to do this area here, and it's this back seam all the way down to the top of that vent, and you can see where the vent ends right here. So put your jacket on, and if you have someone who can help you with this, that would be even better. Otherwise you're going to have to pin, put it on, try it on, take it off, readjust the pins. So what I'm going to do is start at the top. And you'll have to be careful when doing this alteration because you want this to blend really nicely. Because if you don't, you're going to have a little pucker here. And when the rest of the jacket fits really nice and this has a pucker, it's going to stand out. So just be aware of that. So what you're going to do is at the top here, just start pinning. And like I said, if you don't have anybody to help you with this, just pin it when it's off of you, put it on and see how it fits, and then take it off and make your adjustments, or if it's good, just leave it. You can see right here, I kind of turned my pin out so that I know that I'm gonna have to start blending here. And then coming in as much as I need, because you can see this really has a big curve to it. There's a lot of room in this one. So you might be able to take quite a bit up in this middle section here, depending on how big it is for you. And so here's the end. So I'm going to start that pin right close to the seam and angle it in a little bit. And then blend with the other ones as they're going up. You can kind of see how they're coming up. So let's get this on the table and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, for this alteration, because you have to turn the sleeve inside out with these pins, I would recommend you either take it to the iron and press here so that you have these openings, or you measure it. Now, if your iron does not have a plate or one of those feet that you attach to it, I recommend you don't iron it and just measure your pin from the fold or from the seam. This is a 1/2 inch, and then a 1/2 inch, and then it tapers to nothing. At the point that you're going to take up the most is going to be in this middle section, about 1/2 inch. And from that point you taper off this way, and then you taper off this way. So I'm going to take the pins out because I have a habit of poking myself. Now, I opened this up a little earlier just to see what it looks like on the inside. And the first thing you need to check is to see if this seam is sewn down or not. And you can tell by doing this, you can tell that it's not one piece, sleeve and back. It's sewn to the actual sleeve or the arm's eye of the jacket. So we can't go in from this down here and pull everything out because it's sewn. So now we're going to have to look on the inside, and normally you'll see something like this, and you can tell that this was the area they closed it up because you can see the way it's sewn, and it looks like this. So you can see the top stitching. So what I did was reach in here and you pull everything inside out, all the way up to the shoulder. And I do this because I want to be able to see everything and to make sure that I have access to that seam from the very top and then all the way down through the hem of the jacket. So this is what I want. Find the seam that ends up down by the buttons. You can feel the buttons in here. Now at this point you can take the fullest part of the sleeve, and you know that that was a 1/2 inch in. So you take your measurement and you put your pin in there. Now from here on out you can eyeball it or you can measure. It's up to you. If you're good at eyeballing, that'll actually be quicker. And then I'm going to start, I can see this is where it ends, so I need to taper this. I want it to taper right here so that it's a smooth transition and you don't get that bubble I was talking about. If this doesn't blend real well, you'll be able to tell on the outside very easily. And if you have to go back and do it again, don't worry about it. It's really easy to just go in and go back and fix it. Now here, you'll see this little area here. This is where the sleeve ends and the vent will start here. You want to take this pin and put it right near that corner because that's where you're going to blend the new seam. Okay, so I have everything pinned. Might want to move this one out a little bit. Okay, now we are going to get the machine out. We're going to start up here just as close as we can get. You start actually on the stitching line, and then as you come down, you kind of just gradually come off of it and then follow these pins all the way back down to the end where you merge back on with the original seam. Okay, one of the things you have to be careful for is you see these seams are open. You have to close this seam allowance up and make sure that nothing gets flipped over in this area, or you'll have to go back and redo it. So this is how I do it. I close up the seam allowances, try to make sure there's no folds back here, and then lay it on the sewing machine and hope nothing gets flipped under. And if this is too difficult, you could actually pin the other side and come up from the hem of the sleeve, which I just don't. This is how I've always done it. Okay, right now I'm going to follow this seam first, and then as I come down, I'll come away from it and go into my new marks on the sleeve. Okay, now I'm past the widest part, so now I'm going to start blending back into the original seam. Okay, I'm back into it now, and you can see I've got a little ways to go. So if I wanted to, I could have come down still not blending until I get down here, but this is the way it worked out. Okay, you can see the new seam. Now what we're going to do is go and take out the original seam, and then we'll have to press it. This next part would be very helpful if you had either a sleeve roll or a tailor's ham. And the reason is because when you go to press this out, there's no opening that you can easily just slide this into. You'd have to go all up under here, and it would just be really weird. So it would be helpful to use one of these instead of doing this and then creating wrinkles all through the jacket. You can just lay this under here. Make sure the underside of the sleeve is smoothed out, and then it gives you a nice area to press without affecting the rest of the jacket. And you could add steam if you want, or not if you don't want. Now, when ironing a jacket, it's always nice to have these plates. I don't know if you want to call it a foot or a plate, but you slide it onto your iron, and this little spring will hold it on. And when you have one of these, you can actually iron your suit, and it doesn't make it shiny. So those are really nice to have. Okay, so let's get this back over to my table, and we will see what this looks like on the outside. Okay, let's turn this right side out and see how we did. Okay, so that's the seam, and it actually looks really good. We'll just have to go back over and press it out again from this side. So that looks really good. Now what we're going to do is pull the sleeve back like this, and you can see how the opening was. Now we're just going to take the machine and just go over this and close it back up, and it will look just like it did before we even started. That's it. And that's all there is. Really super easy. and this will be under my Easy Peasy playlist.